Hey guys, welcome back to another Warframe video where today we are going to be talking about Steel Path defense and mobile defense. Now when it comes to Steel Path missions, defense and mobile defense are probably looked upon as the most tedious and potentially the most difficult of missions to complete. Reason being, they are the easiest to fail and they just generally take the longest because unlike in the normal Origin system, you can't really rely on nuke frames like Mirage, Volt, Ember, whatever. They are not going to be as potent in Steel Path and be completely unviable in certain circumstances. So we are going to have to avoid them and kind of just come up with some new and different tactics that we can use to clear them out nice and quickly. Because I think that's the main thing that people sort of back off from when it comes to defense in particular, not so much mobile defense, but defense in particular, people back away from it because it takes so long. You can clear it out pretty quickly if you've got your hands on some of the new Incarnon weapons or even the old ones like the Felarx or the Fenmore. You can kill enemies very, very easily, but you have to wait for the enemies to come to you, and that's just very, very boring in some cases. So today, I'm going to be going through some tips and tricks on how I cleared Steel Path defense missions, and then we'll take a look at mobile defense missions separately because there's a few different methods you can use for doing mobile defense on Steel Path as well. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it and take a look at the tips and tricks for defense. Alright guys, so the first thing that I want to kind of bring to people's attention when it comes to Steel Path defense is the on-call crewmate. Now, guess which one of my crewmates is on-call without looking at the names? It's the guy on the right, who actually looks kind of cool. So on him, I have put on a Tenet Cycron. Now the Tenet Cycron has infinite ammo, the Tenet Cycron being much better than the normal Cycron, that is. So if we take a look at my build for the Tenet Cycron, you guys can see it's basically built towards a joint crit and status build, and with Galvanized Shot, that is going to mean that we are going to be able to do a lot of damage to any enemies that are coming towards us, and with Magnetic and Radiation on, it's going to do damage to all enemy types, and the output of the damage on an on-call crewmate is absolutely ridiculous, by the way. If you train them so that your combat is on max, you get an innate plus 200% damage bonus, and if you have an elite crewmate, such as mine, you can sometimes get some additional abilities that maybe gain plus crit chance for your secondary weapons. That's probably the best one you can get for this particular build. You can get ones that improve durability, that give you like a shield. That's the one that my one here has. You can get primary crit chance, all that good stuff on the elite crewman, but you will need a command rank of 10 to get an elite crewman. This does work completely fine with just a normal crewman. Just make sure that your combat is maxed out and you have a decent amount of endurance as well. So that's worth noting. But this is what we're going to be using first of all in my kind of tips and tricks bit for completing Steel Path defense missions. Now, this is going to be combined with our Speed Nova, which we're using here. For those of you who have not seen a Speed Nova build, this is what it looks like. You want as low a strength as possible. So we've gone ahead and put on Overextended for negative 60% ability strength and Power Donation for negative 30% ability strength. And you can see there that the slow is at negative 60%. So that means enemies are going to be moving 60% faster and move towards us much faster as well. And that's going to be very important for when you're using your on-call crewmate. Now I have also got Nourish on here. Nourish we can use to buff our on-call crewmate and give him viral damage to his weapons. In this case, obviously, really not that much, only 7%, but it is going to guarantee him proccing viral effects on enemies as they come in, which will improve his damage overall, and it will also allow us to pick up more energy, only by a bit mind you, but it will allow us to pick up more energy when we're going around and obviously trying to keep our energy pool nice and high. So this is the build, as you can see here. We've gone for a very high energy pool, Arcane Energize, Arcane Guardian, perhaps not totally necessary. You could run with Preparation, in which case you would start with a full energy pool. But what I would suggest not doing is running with Zenuric. If you happen to have Zenuric maxed out, and you have yourself Wellspring and then Hardened Wellspring, you will actually increase your ability strength, and thereby you will prevent the enemies hitting the maximum speed cap. So bear that in mind. So I am running just Unairu here so I can stay standing. And that's pretty much what you need to do. You could run Unairu if you want to for increased damage. That also works as well. But again, just be careful that you don't add any ability strength to your Warframe if you are doing this. So I'm going to do 2 quick missions here to demonstrate how this tactic kind of works. And if you want to speed it up super fast, which is what I am going to be doing, you can. We're going to have to leave here, I think. Yeah, bear with me one moment. I'm just going to go to my operator. So on your operator, if you do want to get this even faster, you can run Magus Anomaly and just transfer in and out of Warframe and pull enemies in towards you, making your life much, much easier. So that's what I'm going to be using, and that is why I am going to be popping in and out of operator as we do this, and basically letting my on-call crewmate do all the work. So without further ado, guys, let's hop in and see this in action. Alright guys, so I am here on Stoffler, which is the defense mission on Lua. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run into the middle here, and as soon as I get there, or even before I get there, I'm going to use my 4th ability, as the way that my 4th ability on Nova works is it will basically affect any enemies within its radius. So it doesn't have to, the wave doesn't actually have to hit the enemy for it to increase their speed, it just has to be that they are inside it, which means that obviously if an enemy spawns inside it, they will already have that speed boost coming towards us. And I'm just going to throw down my on-call crewmate somewhere around this defense point, put him on hold so he doesn't move around, and then I'm just going to draw enemies towards me in a location where the on-call crewmate can easily shoot them. So let's try that now. Let's go ahead and use our 4th ability. We'll get in here, on-call crewmate, give him our nourish, like so. And in a minute, we will start getting enemy spawn, and they will basically kind of just insta-die as they come in here. Now that our 4th has run out, we'll have to recast it. And you can see they are dying very quickly, but obviously this does have a drawback, as I'm sure many of you are aware. The on-call crewmate is only going to stick around for 3 minutes. And although we are doing this very, very quickly, we are not doing it fast enough for our on-call crewmate to actually be around that long. As you can see here, we're already at 1 minute 50. Although we did spend a bit of time talking at the start, he is probably going to depart 1 mission before the 5th round, which is obviously where we need to get to. So I would recommend, if you are going to do this method on, Grineer missions or any other missions really, other than Infested, because Infested, you can actually do it fast enough. I would recommend taking a weapon with you where you will be able to clear out that kind of final wave by yourself without having to rely on the on-call crewmate. That's pretty important in this case. And in my case, I have the Felarks. And there we go. We can keep clearing waves like this. But yeah, like I said, this guy is going to disappear at some point. So we are going to have to be wary about that and make sure that we can clear the final wave without him. Unless you are on an infested mission, in which case the enemies will be moving fast enough and the on-call crewmate can kill them quickly enough for you to actually finish the entire mission in under 3 minutes. Alright guys, so with Mesa, we are going to be looking to build solely into her Regulator's Prime, and on our Warframe here, we want to be having a decent amount of strength, duration, efficiency. We can sack range because, frankly, our 4th ability, we're just going to be constantly casting on and off, and we shouldn't really need to rely on having a large scope for that. Everything else, you know, you want Arcane Velocity for that huge fire rate increase on pistols. This is an absolutely insane arcane to use on Mesa. It really does improve her damage greatly. And then we've got Guardian on here, for a bit more durability. In terms of the Regulator's Primes themselves, this is a 3-former build. We've gone ahead and got radiation damage on here, as it's generally a pretty good one to cover most races. However, you can gear this to whatever you're going against, but I'm going to do this on Stoffler again on Lua, just as a kind of base for all of these builds. And radiation, you know, we're going to be against Corpus units and Grineer units, so it's definitely worth having something that can cover all of them. Ideally, you might want to go for a viral heat build or something like that, or corrosive and something else, and heat, I guess, would also work, but this should work just fine. You can alter the element to whatever unit type you happen to be going against, and we are not going to be using galvanized shot on this simply because our status chance on regulators is pretty low to begin with, so something to bear in mind when you're doing this. But build however you want, however you're comfortable building. This is just what I have gone for in the end. So let's throw this into the same mission and we'll see kind of how quickly we do it. Alright guys, here we go. Now it is worth noting that obviously we can still put down our on-call crewmate if you want. He is obviously going to dish out some big damage still. But what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to put down an energy pad to get my energy up nice and high. Use my third ability and my nourish, which I have on as well, again. Use my second ability as well for a bit of extra damage, and then you can kind of just stand in the middle or jump about a bit if you want and just kind of rotate yourself around. And you can see here, enemies are dying very quickly and we are not taking a lot of damage at all. And there we go, one wave down already, sub 50 seconds into the mission. So Mesa is always my kind of go-to for steel path defense, and I can throw down my on-call crewmate as well, and he can go around and have a jolly old time. I'm not going to put him on hold for this one because, yeah, I want him to move around and kill enemies without me kind of having to drag people towards him. Let's just make sure that our abilities stay active here. So you can see the Xmas units might take a bit more of a beating to go down, but you should be able to do it just fine. So that was another 40 seconds there for that round. Very, very fast. And yeah, this is just the go-to really for me for steel path defense. It just makes the most sense. She is very tanky. She has insanely high damage output. She's mobile. Yeah, infinite ammo. Energy's not really a problem either, especially if you have Nourish on. It's a no-brainer. So yeah, for those of you wondering how kind of to easily clear out steel path missions, would recommend getting your hands on Mesa or Mesa Prime. Either is fine. I want to point that out as well. A lot of people ask me, you know, do you need Mesa Prime instead of normal Mesa? Absolutely not. You can just run normal Mesa for this, not a problem at all. That one only took us like 30 seconds, so even better. But yeah, I think that kind of covers steel path defense, guys. Not much else to shout about. What we'll do now, we'll move on to mobile defense, and I'll show you guys some of the builds that I like to use for that. Alright guys, so when it comes to mobile defense on steel path, the one bit of advice that I would give is to go for diversion instead of defense itself. If you can get a frame that can provide you with some allies that draw enemy fire rather than them shooting at the defense point or you, then you can pretty much just breeze through without even having to worry about it. There are a few examples of frames. Nidus, which is the one that I'm going to be showing off in this video and who I have come to quite enjoy using actually for mobile defense. Then you can also use frames such as Revenant. He is really good with his thralls. Basically the thralls just, you know, distract the enemies and don't even bother with the defense point, and you're obviously completely invincible as Revenant, so that's a plus as well. You've also got Necros. Necros is a really good frame to roll with for Shield of Shadows. The enemies will just shoot your shadows and they won't shoot the defense point. So if you haven't seen my Nidus max out video, this is the build that we are running with. It is a lava burst build, so I can, you know, keep casting it however I want. And yeah, that's basically all you need to know about it. If you do want to go and see like how this build worked out in Steel Path Circuit, you can go have a look at that on my channel. It will be in my Warframe Done Efficiently series playthrough towards the end. I can't remember specifically what week it was, but yeah, you should be able to find it quite easily. And then if we look at our turret here, this is primarily what I'm going to be using to just annihilate enemies. We have, yeah, Galvanized Aptitude, Galvanized Chamber, all that good stuff. Prime Firestorm should be pretty lethal. And then Despair as well. Again, really good weapon for just clearing out targets. I do have a Riven for this, but, you know, just run whatever weapon you find is able to just annihilate enemies. You should be fine. So let's hop into the mobile defense mission on Lua and see how we fare. Alright guys, so we are in, and as you can see, the enemies, rather than kind of, you know, shooting at me, are a bit more concerned with my little parasites that are roaming around. And as Nidus, I'm probably not going to die with them. I've got basically infinite lives, so that suits me just fine. So yeah, the defense point did take quite a bit of damage due to the sentient influx at the start, but I was able to subdue them before their lasers just one-shot it. But as you can see here, I can kind of just relax. I am taking fire, but it's not enough to kill me. So let's keep moving. It's worth noting as well that obviously you can use your on-call crewmate for this as well. You won't be able to cover all 3 points, but you should be able to cover the last one perhaps. In fact, we can demonstrate that here. Let's go ahead and throw him down. I'll put him on hold. We can also give him Nourish if you've got it on. And you can see enemies just kind of stumbling around. Got an Acolyte. I'm going to use my Uniru here to strip the armor. And with Despair, we just pretty much annihilate him instantly. Oh, I've just realised my fourth isn't up. That'd be quite good. But you can see the defense point is actually taking very little damage, and that's the main thing. We're actually diverting the enemy's attention to our mites, our on-call crewmate, all that good stuff. We don't have to worry about the defense point taking damage here, which is very nice. Make sure our fourth ability is up for the extra armor and health regen. And yeah, as long as we stay alive and we deal a decent amount of damage to the enemies, they're all just going to keep stumbling around like crazy and nothing really is going to happen to the defense point. As you can see, it is not taking any hits right now. Just make sure that we stay alive. Keep our fourth ability going. We take lethal damage, which we're about to. We're just going to, you know, stay alive. And there we go. We can just leave now. So yeah, that's Nidus on mobile defense. Bear in mind that this works, you know, with all those frames that I just mentioned. Just divert enemy fire away from the point rather than focusing on defending it. And you should be fine. And you can relax a lot more as well, right? Because your allies are doing all the work for you rather than you having to worry about it. But yeah, that's mobile defense, guys. Hopefully that was interesting to watch. But let's round out the video now. And yeah, I'll see you guys back in the orbiter. Alright guys, so hopefully this has given you an idea of how you can complete your Steel Path defense and mobile defense missions. Like I said, there are many ways that you can do it. I just thought I'd show you guys how I like to do it and how I did do it during my Warframe Done Efficiently playthrough. If you guys want to go and check that out, you can find a link to it down in the description below. If you have any suggestions for the frames and the builds that you guys like to use for Steel Path defense and Steel Path mobile defense, then please let me know down in the comments below. I know there's a lot of meta revolving around kind of, you know, Equinox and Glaive and stuff like that right now, but I just thought I'd show some different builds and perhaps give you guys some different ideas of how you can progress in the game. But yeah, like I said, once again, leave your ideas and suggestions down below. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one, guys. I'll see you later.